Thanks for having me. I'm here to talk to you about the Delaware Valley Regional Planning Commission Regional Streetlight Procurement Program. It's a lighting streetlight upgrading program that many municipalities have participated in over the last 5 years. And we've been working with you to put together a feasibility study so you could see the opportunity associated with that and decide if you want to move on to phase 2, which is the design phase of the program. So we can go on to the next slide and the next slide. Great. So just very briefly, the reason most municipalities pursue LED lighting upgrades are for the, first of all, the financial benefits. There's significant operating cost savings, both in energy and maintenance savings that help pay for the project. Unlike many other projects that you have to do and expend money for, the streetlight program is actually going to pay you back over time, or at least pay for itself over time through those operating cost savings. LEDs are also much more controllable, and so we can do things like keep light from going up into the sky, which is important for dark sky considerations. And it basically allows us to get the light where it needs to be onto the roadways and sidewalks for safety purposes. So we can go on to the next slide. The reason that DVRPC developed this program is they thought many municipalities could benefit by coming together, pooling their resources, and leveraging the scale of procurement, really, of LED street lighting projects. And so DVRPC put together this turnkey project that provides all the technical assistance that you need to develop such a project, gives you all the design capability, and also does that procurement. So they've gone out and they've actually procured all the materials, all the professional services that you need, all the installation services, and is doing that for the entire program. So is doing that at a very large scale and delivering costs that are much below market level than if you were to go alone and try to do this project on your own. So this is, you're considering being in the 4th round of the project. So the first 3 rounds have touched over 70 municipalities in all of the collar counties around Philadelphia. Bucks County has been very active. Many of your neighbors have already done these upgrades in previous rounds. And in touching those 70 municipalities, we've upgraded over 30,000 street lights, and we've also reduced a great deal of energy consumption for those municipalities, and therefore have reduced carbon emissions through significant energy conservation also. So it has a very sustainable side to the project also. We can go on to the next slide. Basically, we have 4 phases of the project. You're in the feasibility phase, which is a data-driven phase, which means we haven't done any audits of your street lighting system. We're just using data that's available to us that you assisted us with, and we also took off of your PICO bills as a primary data source. And this is a free phase for you. DVRPC actually pays for this feasibility study that I've developed for you. And that leads you to the action that you can consider taking tonight is, do you want to move on to the design phase? And that's where we do the real work of, we do a full GIS-based audit. I use all that information to actually design your project. And then at the end of that phase, we bring you a detailed project specification that shows you exactly what the project is. And then you can decide if you want to move on to construction. I will point out that when we go through the design phase, the pricing is firm, it's set, it's already been pre-negotiated by, not pre-negotiated, procured by DVRPC. So they have contracts with the installer, the manufacturers, and that pricing will not change. If you were to do this project on your own, you'd have certain procurement requirements. In this case, you're able to piggyback off of what DVRPC did via Chapter 19 of the Pennsylvania Procurement Act. So you don't have to do any of that procurement. They've already done it, and you're just piggybacking off of that. So when we come to you at the end of phase 2 design, you're essentially getting a firm project quote, because we will know from the audit exactly how many light fixtures that you have, and we'll have firm pricing associated with everything. So it's not like you're bidding out a 95% complete job. It's a firm price at that point. So we can go into the next slide. We did deliver a much larger feasibility study. I'm just summarizing it for you here in these slides today. We can go on to the next slide. So the next two slides just show you what's in the scope of the project. So the first streetlight type, luminaire type that you have is a traditional Cobra head fixture. You can see what that looks like. And that's on some of your main road areas. And you have 152 of those. In the project, we would be taking off that old head, putting on a new LED fixture head, and the arm and the wiring would stay. We carry contingency in case there's bad wiring. That does occur occasionally, but we have money set aside to handle that in all of the project costs that we are showing you. We can go into the next slide. This is really where the bulk of your project is. You have a lot of decorative fixtures. We call these four-sided colonial fixtures in all of your residential areas. As you can see, you have almost 1,300 of those. And we, again, would basically take off the head, and you actually have two versions of it, which I'm showing there on the right. We would take off that head, put on the new LED head, and basically the arm would stay. We don't change the pole or anything like that. So this is really a one-for-one fixture replacement is what the project is. We certainly in phase two, if there's some custom areas where you feel you need a little more light or you have a dark area, we can add fixtures also, but primarily most of the projects are one-for-one replacement projects. We can go on to the next slide. I won't touch on this too much now, other than when we get into phase two, we'll talk a lot about controls. LEDs are controllable, unlike the older technology, so we have the ability to connect or to put controls on them that we can adjust light levels if necessary. There's some very low cost methods of controlling those lights. We call those manual controls, which basically it's a little dimmer switch inside the fixture. We don't suggest that you customize lighting across the township, but it is there and available for you if sometime in the future you need to increase or decrease light levels at a particular location. That's what we call manual dimming controls. But you can also, you are one of the larger municipalities in this round. Some municipalities choose to do a network lighting control system where every light fixture is connected to a network, and then that network you can access through a cloud-based software system that you can then control all your lights, you can manage all your lights. But I'll tell you the primary reason larger municipalities do it is for maintenance purposes, so they can get outage reports proactively the day they occur. If a light pole gets knocked down, we get a tilt fault on that. If it's burning during the day, which it shouldn't, we get a report on that. So again, in phase two, the design phase, we'll talk a lot more about controls, but we've priced them out for you in the feasibility study, just so you get a sense of the costs associated with those types of options. We can go into the next slide. So talking about the financials, this is just a summary, and again, there's more detailed charts in the feasibility study that show you all the costs. The first two options are essentially the same, because the way we optimize rebates for you, because there are PICO rebates, we actually do put manual controls into our base upgrade. So I'll just talk about the first item there, the base upgrade. You can see that the annual operating costs, you would reduce your operating costs, energy and maintenance wise, by $43,000 a year is the feasibility study estimate. That would cost about $700,000 after you receive the rebate, so that's net of the rebate. And so that would be a payback period of 16 years. We do have quicker payback projects, but your mix of decoratives is somewhat unique. Most municipalities have a lot of Cobra heads, and they're a little cheaper, but this is still a very attractive, within that 20-year period, it's going to pay for itself through those operating cost savings. And then the last column we showed there is over that 20 years after you've paid for everything, you're going to generate a net of $172,000 in net savings. So that's money that could be spent on other township needs. Then I'll just go to the bottom solution. That's the network control option. You can see that the energy savings are a little bit better because you can go to a different PICO tariff, which it costs you or saves you some additional money, but it does cost more. So now we're talking about $1 million project. That's again after the rebates have been paid from PICO, and now you're getting closer to a 19-year payback on that. All of this can shift and be fine-tuned in the design phase, but at the feasibility phase with the data we have, this is a good solid estimate of the opportunity that's there for you. So we can go on to the next slide and the final slide. So of course I can take any questions on the feasibility study and the scope of the upgrades, but your next step would be to decide if you want to go to the design phase. Again, you're not approving a project or anything like that, you're just deciding if you want to go to the design phase. You can see in red there in the middle of the slide that the cost of doing the audit, the design, the project specifications, all of that, primarily the audit is the big cost in it. That's $37,000 is what you'd be committing to go into the design phase. And then again, at the end of that, you'd have a firm specified project that you could decide if you want to go forward with construction. The timing for kickoff of phase 2, the design phase, would be essentially probably mid-May. We're going to have auditors come in and start auditing. And this is a GIS-based audit where they capture every single location with GPS coordinates, and they capture about 30 to 40 attributes about every light fixture, and then we use that for design. Even if you don't go forward to construction, all that data would be turned over to you and could be used in your GIS system. So there's a great deal of value just in all that data of knowing your streetlight system. Our goal would be to finish the design phase and be back to those municipalities that go through the design phase probably towards the end of the summer to see if you want to go forward with the project. And then construction would either start at the end of this year or beginning of next year. Some townships like to wait right till the beginning of the year to start it, and we could do that. But we'll finish everything up by the end of the first quarter of 2024. So that's what I have for you today. I went through pretty quick. Obviously, you were given a lot more information than were in these summary slides, but available to answer any questions for you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for providing 2 PowerPoints and the actual feasibility study of 37 pages, I think. So we did go through them all. And I thought what we would do is have some questions from the board and see if we have a motion, and we'll get some public comment then as well.
Okay.
I have 3 or 4 questions. So this is going from phase 1, which is feasibility, to design, which is phase 2. And it also looks like it will take a good 3 months if we decide to go on to construction at that point. It looks like it's a good 3 months, 71 work days or whatever. So I guess the question I have is what happens when you come back to us with phase 2 results, the data and everything?
Yeah, at the end of phase 2, you're going to get a document that is very similar looking to the feasibility study and another presentation similar, almost exactly the same format, but everything will be firmed up. We will have done the audit and we'll know exactly how many streetlights you have of which types. And usually we find a few more or a few less. The Pico numbers are never exactly correct. They're pretty good, but yeah. And we also will talk to you if there's any other special needs that you have that you want us to address in the project. We would integrate those into the final project specification. And so basically you'd get another deliverable very similar to what you got this time around.
And it will probably be pretty close to the $699 that you're $699,000 that you're projecting as a cost.
Yeah, all the firm pricing that I mentioned you'd see in phase 2 are actually integrated into the feasibility study too. The only thing that really changes the number is if we find more streetlights.
Okay.
So at a unit cost basis, it would be the same firm unit prices.
Just a couple more. I was a little bit disappointed with the 16-year payback. I was hoping for more like 10 or 12. But let me ask you about the maintenance during that time. How much? What would be the difference? I guess because we're paying maintenance now to maintain our lights. And how does that compare to what the maintenance for LED lights, and how long does an LED light last?
Yeah, I'll answer that a couple ways. In the financials, we do assume some maintenance savings. We're very conservative in that. The chart that I showed, there's actually a more detailed version of that where I break out the operating costs into the energy cost savings and the maintenance savings. But you'll see the majority of the cost savings are in the energy side.
Yes.
But probably a better way to answer the question is if you were to buy the older style fixture that you have installed now, you basically get a 1-year warranty on that fixture if you were to just buy it from a supply house. All the LED product, this is a reflection of what they think the life is, the manufacturers. They give a 10-year warranty, and that doesn't mean that they think the useful life is 10 years. When they give a 10-year warranty, they have to have 2x, 3x that life to have that warranty be set at 10 years. If they thought they were only getting 15 years, they'd lose a lot of money by having a 10-year warranty. So the manufacturer data says that LED fixture has a 40-year life. I don't like to quote that. I say that comfortably you've got a 20 to 30-year lighting fixture that you're going to be installing. But you also get a 1-year labor and product warranty from the installer. So for that, when LEDs fail, they tend to fail quickly. And so usually it's even when, and it's a very, very low percentage, but it's usually when the contractor may still be on site, maybe on the day they install it, and they just take it out and ship it back, get a new one in, and there's no cost associated with that. So for 1 year, we just call the contractor, he takes care of everything, but you do have that 10-year product warranty that parallels that and then goes beyond.
At least in normal circumstances, then the life of the LED light is past the payback period.
Yes,
in
absolutely.
Normal situations.
We choose a 20-year time frame to do all of our financials for all of our projects because we know that life, that there's savings beyond that point. Mm-hmm. Probably in that 20 to 30 year, you're going to get those same annual savings without having to replace the fixture. Of course, there's always small percentages of failures, but hopefully they occur in the warranty period.
So after they're paid off and go to the bank and get a loan, but after that loan's paid off, there would actually be a savings in our budget year to year after that.
Yeah, absolutely. That same annual savings that I show for the first 20 years continues on, because you basically just have lowered compared to the baseline of what you're paying now.
Okay.
You've lowered your energy costs.
I think that catches most of my questions. I hope I didn't steal too many from other folks, but
I have some questions.
Yes,
so I like the idea of switching to LED lights. I think it's the way to go. I'm concerned with the amount that's going to cost. I know it's a loan over 16 years and whatnot, but what advantage do we get from going with this program over just say replacing them ourselves one at a time over 16 years?
Yeah, you're going to pay much, much less by doing it through our program compared to going on your own. Some municipalities look at things like, I'll try to use Co-Stars through the state of Pennsylvania. Co-Stars does not, you could technically buy these products through there, but there's no price that they've negotiated on your behalf to do that. So what DVRPC did with a massive RFP that they put out to procure all these costs really drove the prices down below market levels. So that's one aspect. I would also mention in the design phase, we can also talk to you about the possibility of financing. So you could have a lot of you could have a loan where a lot of the loan payments would be paid with the savings. So your actual annual outlay might be a lot less. We already did we use Delval when we do those financing arrangements. You're a large enough project and you have a relationship with them, as I understand, talking to them, that they would be happy to entertain talking to you about financing it. And we've been really successful using Delval. So, but that's kind of a phase 2 discussion.
Understood, thank you. I guess I have a question for you, Mr. Lewis. Sorry to hit you. How we fix for budgetary call on this? Would this be just like a vote on a purchase or on the signing of a loan to pay for this, or how we work that into the budget.
So it would be worked into the budget under debt service. So same thing we did with the road program a few years ago where we did that $1 million project. You take a loan out for say $1 million and you finance it over X amount of time, 2-3 years, and then you would need to support that with tax revenue to pay for it.
And that's something that we could do this year and not wait for the next budget. Is that what you're basically saying?
Yes, it would be in next year's budget.
It would be in next year's budget?
Yes.
Okay, all right, thank you.
So we'd be positioned just on that timing that you would get your construction proposal right about the time that you'd be putting your budgets together for next year. So you'd have a good firm price. And then if you approve the project, you know, we could hold till the budget was approved and financing possibly could be in place. Yeah.
Can you tell us who else is involved in round 2 as far as municipalities right now, or are we the first?
Oh, no. So we really think the program may end at about round 5 because most of the municipalities that are are interested we've now hit. So we started with 35 in round 1. We had I think it was 26 in round 2. Round 3 was only 9. And this round that you're in, round 4, there's currently 5 that are considering it. So 2 of the 5 have already approved, moving into the design phase. You're the 3rd. The other 2 are meetings that I have in the next coming weeks. In terms of some of your neighbors, I was trying to go from memory, writing most of them down, but Newtown Borough, Bensalem, Tullytown, Middletown, New Britain, Buckingham, Langhorne Manor, Ivyland, New Hope, Pendel are just the Bucks County projects. There might be 1 or 2 there more that I missed there. So, but they were spread out over round 1 through round 3. Yep.
Anybody else?